Hey guys, Steve from Adventure Moto. We're going to talk about choosing a tyre for your adventure bike. Now, probably not going to go into the science that you want me to. I'm just going to go into some of the processes we go through when thinking about the right tyre for our bike. So I just want to say I'm not an expert. I don't believe in experts. There are probably a few of them out there. They're the guys that have done their 10,000 hours. You know, I'm just a guy that's been riding for quite a while. I've been selling a lot of gear to adventure riders, you know, coming up to 20 years. I've had a lot of time on different bikes and different tyres. At the end of the day, most of us trust our mates or Professor Google before science in front of us. So you have to work your way through bullshit to get to the truth anyway. So what I'm talking about here is I don't have a durometer or a gauge reader. We're not going to be testing each tyre. That would be a tyre comparer that you'd find on YouTube. What we're talking about here is we sell motorbike tyres. We are not affiliated to a single brand. Adventure Moto and tyres for bikes. We sell many brands as we can provide to our customer base for the tyres that they prefer themselves. We sell tyres for all walks of bikes, including adventure, street, scooters, road, track, and so on. So look, these are my thoughts and my opinions. Today, I specifically want to talk about adventure tyres. And my first train of thought here is, guys, don't overthink it. You know, we can consider many things while choosing adventure bike tyres. Things like favourite brand, compound, tread pattern, sidewall strength, cross ply, is it belt rated? What's the expected longevity of a tyre, which comes back to compound? Are we using the bike predominantly for on or off road or both? What's your weight? What's the luggage weight that you carry? Do you carry a pillion? What temperature are you riding? You know, are you a summer rider, a winter rider? Some people are fair weather riders, so you may not need to think about rain as much as the guys who are riding all year round. Riding style, your experience, in particular, your budget, your skill level. Does road noise affect you? You know, I wear earplugs, but sometimes it really shits me when the front wheel howls on my 1250 GS. So the bike size and weight will come into that, the speed, the load rating. And if you really want to talk smart, you know, let's go into air pressures, because everyone's got an opinion on air pressures, right? One thing my limited experience does tell me is there is no such thing as a unicorn. And everyone's chasing the unicorn, even the manufacturers are chasing the unicorn. And people ring up and say, what's the unicorn tyre? It's going to give me the best grip, handle well on the road, behave in the dirt, give me at least 10,000 Ks. Well, guys, everything in life is a compromise. Just like there's no single tyre to meet all your expectations. As a rider, you need to separate fact from fiction when choosing a motorbike tyre that suits you. So as a rider, you need to be prepared to compromise. And just like Newton's law, where every force is met by an equal and opposite force, similar to my marriage to Mrs. Adventure Moto, she's definitely an equal and opposite opposing force sometimes. That's what makes our marriage great. If you want one or more outstanding qualities from your motorcycle tyres, be prepared to give up something else. That's just going to be the fact. If you want longevity, be prepared to go for a harder compound and potentially give up some grip. If you want something that handles better on the road, be prepared to give up that knobby tread pattern that's going to bite in the dirt. So if you want less road noise, choose a more road orientated tyre. Me personally, I usually choose an off-road biased tyre and I suck it up on the road. I'm used to the bike moving around underneath me. So again, I'm not overthinking it. I choose a tyre that will suit the style of riding that I want to do, not necessarily the style that I mostly do to get to the point where I want to ride. Think about what it's like for you and what you should and can reasonably expect from your tyre choice when choosing adventure tyres. Now, in particular, choosing the right tyre for the riding conditions that you want to ride in. So what I mean by that is, if you have ambitions to ride in sand, ride in dirt and rutted tracks, you're going to pick a tyre for that style of riding, because an off-road tyre will behave on the road most of the time, as long as you're not pushing it and you're riding to the conditions. Same as I hear some guys say, oh look, I like that Motos rear, but it doesn't handle well in the wet. Well, pull it back and ride it 60% in the wet, and then use it for when you're riding in the dirt as you really want to use it. So look, in a minute I'm going to introduce my 80-20 rule. So hold that thought, but before we go there, let's talk about tyre styles. So that comes down to every brand has an interpretation of what the style of their tyre is. And what I mean by that, is it a 50-50 tyre? Is it an 80-20 off-road bias, or is it an 80-20 road bias? And I think some manufacturers use a bit of smoke and mirror in this regard. But let's talk about some of the tyres that we sell. They're adventure tyres here in Adventure Moto. Brands like Bridgestone with their Battle Axe AX41s, popular an ever-present Continental, the TKC 80s and 70s that have been around for a long, long time. Dunlop now make the Trail Max Mission, which I've got to say is one of the strongest tyres, but it's also one of the heaviest tyres. So if you're trying to lose unsprung weight, again, you go for a heavier tyre like the Trail Max, which will last a long time on the bike, even on the big shitters. Add 2 or 3 kilos to the carcass of that tyre. It's way heavier than even the Motos. Rally Raid 908s have been around for a long time with Dunlop, and I believe they're going to bring out a Trail Max Rally Raid as well, so that could be interesting. interesting when that tyre is announced. Hyde now produced the K60, K76. Motos, very popular in Europe. Yeah, they're a European tread, same as Hyde now and Mifo. Motos have their EO7, EO9, E10. The Motos is probably a really good all-rounder for a lot of guys, especially if you don't want to pay the money of, say, a new Karoo. Probably one of the most popular tyres for the big bikes, especially the big BMWs, because that's what the guys at Moto Development and the Safari push. And that's, yeah, they're a good tyre. There's no bad tyres. So we have Shinko, Kenda, Michelin, Metzler, Michelin Anarchy Wild, Anarchy Adventure. Funnily enough, the Anarchy Wild is more off-road than the Anarchy Adventure. So again, it's your interpretation of what is adventure. Metzler Karoo 4, they appeal to those big BMWs. Motos have a great range of tyres. The Motos is one of my favourite brands. You know, we get a lot of questions about what's the difference between the Motos Tractionator Adventure and the Motos Rail Z. That comes down to compound. A little bit of tread difference, and the Rail Z's got more silica, so the grip's a bit better on the road. We had people early days saying the Adventure was a great tyre off-road, but it didn't provide enough security on-road in the wet. So they didn't want to lose that off-road capacity. So they came up with the Rail Z, which is a fantastic tyre, but expect to get 10, 20, 30% less longevity with the Rail Z than you would the Tractionator Adventure. But because of the compound, because of the grip. Again, it's that compromise we're talking about. One of my favourites would have to be the Pirelli, but I don't ever expect really long life because I'm sacrificing that longevity for excellent grip and performance. I love the Pirelli Rally Race. And I've got to say that the new Rally Race front here is proper knobby, but it is suitable for big adventure bikes. It's a tubeless tyre. A lot of guys will run a tube in that tyre purely because it gives such grip for the bigger bikes, the bigger adventure bikes, the bigger guys who want to ride those bikes hard off-road. My choice, if I had to pick a tyre combination that I would ride in most of the time, it'd probably be a Motos Rail Z rear and a Pirelli front, like this guy here. If I'm riding around town more, I'd probably still go for a Pirelli Rally Race on the rear. I'd be sacrificing longevity, but I'd be getting pretty good performance on and off road for shorter runs. But if I was going to ride out to the Flinders Ranges or across the Perth and back, I'd definitely put a Motos. Or if I was going to do less hard off road, I'd really think about the new Trail Max Dunlop, because I hear good things about it and guys are getting a lot of good life out of it. But again, it's a heavier carcass. Look, a lot of tyres companies go into the bias, 30-70, 80-20 and so on. Again, each manufacturer has their opinion on that. Talk to your mates how they perform on and off road. I will take you next door, but let's have a think about that 80-20 rule that I was talking about, and I'll explain that to you in just a sec.